please no sales pitches. We want everybody to feel welcome to come to these meetups and not need to be sold things constantly. And these are here for solely educational purposes. Like I had mentioned before, we have multiple different programs. So we have online open forums, we have webinars, local meetups like this one, as well as regional meetups, which are a little bit larger in scope and in person. We have conferences, a team up. We also have our YouTube channel, which you can find videos and recordings of local meetups like this one on our YouTube channel. So if you were ever interested in, if you missed a local meetup or you want to see what the Colorado meetup is doing or talking about, you can find that on our YouTube channel, and it is always posted in the comments section of the event. Like I had mentioned before, we have our 2025 regionals coming up. We have our Southeast Regional on January 15th in Tampa, Florida. We currently have 98 registrations and 8 sponsors. So this will be a full day event with multiple different tracks and speakers. It's a great day of education and networking with your fellow peers. We are going to have a Northeast Regional in February in Massachusetts, potentially a Pacific Northwest meetup in March. That is kind of TBD right now. We're trying to figure out the logistics of that one. We are going to Canada in June, Toronto, Canada, and I am personally super excited about this one. We are going to be going to West Africa and East Africa in July, so Ghana and Kenya. We will be going to Colorado in August, Ohio as well in August, and Dallas, Texas in September. So those are continually updated on our website. If you were ever interested in attending one in your local area, feel free to either shoot me a Teams message or you can find more information on our website. We have our 2025 DynamicsCon coming up May 13th to the 16th in Chicago, Illinois. We are super excited about this. There we go. This will be a multi-day event with lots of education and networking. We have lots of fun stuff planned as well for the day or for the week. But please come and join us in Chicago. We would love to see you. And it is a really, really awesome way to get involved in the community. And we also have a little holiday deal going on right now. So this is for anybody on your call or on this call or any users. We have a holiday BOGO discount. Oh, I don't know why this keeps going away. Okay. So you can use the promo code DCCon Cheer BOGO. And this is good until the end of the year. So if you were interested in coming to DynamicsCon, I would highly suggest doing it before the end of the year. We have some really awesome deals going on right now that you really won't find when we get closer to the event. So if you were interested in coming, I would suggest doing it before the end of the year. And that is all for me. I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Ryan. But if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to just shoot me a chat in the message, and I'd be happy to chat. Thank you, everybody.
Cool. Thank you very much for all of that. And I was just looking up the DUG4GOV DynamicsCon hosted by Dynamics User Group YouTube channel, so that way I can post it over in the chat here in just a little bit. But before we actually get started, I wanted to do a little bit of intro. We had a speaker cancel, and DeAndre from the North Carolina DPS raised his hand and said, "Hey, I got this really cool use case that we could possibly look at saving some money." If you could be on mute, please, that would be excellent. Ernest, can you make sure our attendees are on mute? Except for me. and DeAndre. So yes, but this really cool use case of like, hey, something that used to take a DPS approximately about 8 hours a day to do, and that's receive inventory in and manage all of those computers and things like that, inventory that comes in. And they had a staff of about 4 people or so. And if you think about like how much each person gets paid, and it's an entire day's pay, That adds up over time. And how can we use technology to help speed this process up and make things a bit more efficient so that way it's not taking so many people so long to receive inventory and then, get that matched up against invoices and things like that. So there is a definite cost savings as you look at, using the Power Platform, and this was just one of those use cases. So with that, DeAndre, are you with me, buddy?
Yes, I am here.
Cool. And I probably didn't do the use case that much justice. But I wanted to make sure that we touched on the fact that, I mean, you're potentially looking at some actually large cost savings in the future. So, but as we get to that outcome and talk a little more about that, do you want to just cover a little bit more of the use case and what you built?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
So what has happened with our DPS environment? We house juvenile justice department, corrections, and multiple other agencies up under the DPS umbrella. About a year ago, we had the prison side said we're going to split back off onto our separate cells like we were before we got all put together. Some of you might be familiar with this type of scenario in state government where agencies are put together under one administration, and then years later, another administration comes along and splits them all back apart. So that's what we're going through. Originally, they were separated. Prisons used to be called DOP, Department of Prisons. When they moved back up under us, they were still departments of prisons. And then now they're splitting off, and now they rebranded themselves to DAC, Department of Adult Corrections. Well, when we merged together, all the inventory went into a particular application for managing inventory that was built by the application development team on the prison side. So it had some things that the other side didn't have in there, but we had our workarounds to handle that. So when we split, and we're not fully split yet, we still have some inner workings and other things before it's completely split apart from DPS. And one of those things that's going to go away from the public safety side is the inventory tracking that the application team on the prison side had built. So that's going to be going away. So when this announcement came and it was solidified, I was like, okay, we need an inventory app to track the DPS equipment that we're going to be bringing in and sending out. So the Power Platform fit that perfectly. With my history of just building Canvas apps, this was my first entry into doing Dataverse model-driven app and trying to use all the capabilities, and also being able to plan for future upgrades and things like that. So that's where this came about. So I was just going to run through how I built it, just showing you the interface, how it interacts, and then, which won't take long. And then I was going to show you the back end workings, how it all came about. So if anybody has any questions before I start, to just run through it real quick, that's fine. If you would like to wait till after I run through it, because then you can ask all kinds of questions as I go through the back end workings, that's fine also. Anybody say anything in the chat there? I got my nice pretty.
So far, I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you do have a question, I'll be reading the chat, and we'll find the opportune times to also interrupt you, DeAndre. So I think we're good to go, bud.
All right. So this is still in development. I developed this with a Microsoft engineer named Kennedy Thorne. Some of you might know her. She's great. So came up with these. So I'm part of the inventory team too, and we're a small team. Sometimes it's 2 of us at the warehouse. Sometimes it's 4 of us at the warehouse. And we're ordering anywhere between 1,000 desktops, 700 laptops, to the max that we've ordered here in the past was 4,000 desktops, 2,000 laptops. And that's not even counting monitors and peripherals and all that good stuff. But we primarily focus on desktops and laptops because those are what's most important. So when we go to the warehouse, we go as a team. We get there about 10 o'clock after we grab breakfast. We work till lunchtime. We go grab lunch, we come back because we have to, get all the serial numbers and the way everything is packaged, and we have to work with the warehouse team to move stuff around. So it's very time consuming. Usually it is an all day thing. And we're scanning ourselves into Excel spreadsheets. So this right here has really made things way more quicker and more flexible, where it can be either a one-man or a two-man team, depending on how many pallets that we're trying to scan in at the time. So by clicking on the warehouse link, we go here, and then we have the option to choose, because we do have all 4 vendors on our volume purchase award to purchase equipment from. So we select Microsoft for there, and we click Start Scanning. All we have to do is make sure that the cursor is here, and then we put in our pallet number. We have a person who used to work at FedEx. And so they were like, hey, we need to organize these pallets so that we're just not running in here blind. And also back at the back in the office, we can organize the asset tags by pallet number so that it cuts down on our time of trying to find the pallet, trying to find the serial numbers that go with the devices that we're pulling off the pallet that are going to be picked up by either the regional techs or the different departments in the agency for pickup for us to image up later at their location. So that's what that purpose is for. Unfortunately, I've been at home, so I don't have any boxes to scan, but typically we scan in the devices for laptops, there are 45 laptops on the pallet. So we scan them in. This will count the number of scanned items here, because when we get in so many pallets and we have the shipping labels with them, we can see the total number. So when this number for the particular vendor hits what they say they sent us, we know we have them all. This right here cuts down tremendously, because there have been many a times when we're all there. It's like, okay, how many have you scanned on the pallet? And so then we got to count through the Excel document, or we're trying to remember from the previous one, or we're writing down, okay, we scanned 45 on this one. There's 35 on this one. And then we got to go back and calculate all that. This right here eliminates 3 different ways of trying to keep up with the counts and makes it very easy for us to see, oh, we scanned 200. No problem. That's how many they say to send us. Okay, we can go let our person know that we can go ahead and pay these invoices of devices we've already received, because we know we received 200. So you see here, successful number and failed number. So when I finish scanning the pallet and I click match serial numbers, what it does is it checks the delivery table, and we'll go over that after this. It checks the delivery table for that vendor to see if we pulled in that information from the PDF document using AI Builder. And we'll go over that at the end. So if it's there, it's successful, it's going to move it out of that table and into the primary inventories table. If it doesn't find it in there, it still moves it out of there, but it moves it into an exceptions table. So 2 things would cause that. Either the serial number was typed wrong on the invoice, or I don't have the invoice. I didn't get the invoice before the shipment came in, and it's not been uploaded into the system. So that's one way that helps us as we progress through the different pallets to see, and we still see that we still see the total number of devices that we retrieved in. So we can still say, hey, we got this many, but we don't have this invoice, or maybe the invoice went to somebody else. Still working on that piece. But we know the total number we have, and we know how many we ordered because I'm the person who puts the order together. So that right there has helped us tremendously. I know I had to scan 200 Microsoft tablets. And the third reason why it might not show up, we had an invoice for the Microsoft tablets, but one of the invoices said quantity 8, but it had no serial numbers on it. I know, shocking. It was weird. I was like, it says 8, but there's nowhere of serial numbers on this invoice. So that's how we were able to determine that although we had all 200, the invoices quantity-wise showed that, but we didn't have the matching serial numbers of 8 of the devices. That reduced us having to search around and trying to figure out what's going on. But we were able to go back to the vendor and say, you didn't send us all the serial numbers, although you said the quantity, but we have them. So that let us know we got what we paid for. It also was able to help us find that when the controller's office entered the information into the fixed asset system, we found a typo. Like when I scanned it and we matched it against what they had put in, we found that they had put in a O instead of a 0, and they left off the letter K on another serial number. So this has helped us find manually typed in wrong information, and also helped us, find the total number of devices we're supposed to have. So it's been really helpful because it's cut down on us going back and forth with vendors and back and forth with controllers about what's supposed to be where and how many we've got. It eliminates all that headache all in one shot. So it's been really great. And that's just been in testing. We haven't fully implemented it yet because we still haven't fully split. So I have time to add some more things to this, which I am doing. But you can hit back and then go and find the next vendor, start scanning again, put in the pallet number, and everything just moves along smoothly. So going back to the home page, the exceptions table, I'm still working on this piece. So either scan in or type in the serial number, and then you add it over to here. And so that way we can go and verify, find out what PO or invoice it's on, verify everything, and then move it into the inventory table by clicking this button once we have everything. What I'm trying to do with this is scroll down just a little bit. And yeah, I'm not going to find it. I don't have the ones in here. I thought I did. But the plan is to have it pull information from the main inventory table that matches where these POs came from. So that is what that particular button is. Like I said, I'm still working on that. And then I can cancel those out. And then the other thing, so when our regional techs or when a person from the department comes in, we want to have multiple ways of knowing where devices went. So not only do we want to be able to assign that to either the regional tech or the person who comes and pick up the devices, we also are able to generate a ServiceNow ticket so that we can go search in ServiceNow for the serial number, pull it up and say, oh yeah, back in July, such and such came and picked up these devices and they were supposed to assign them, or you picked up these devices and you were supposed to get with the regional tech to get these devices imaged up and installed and operational for your people. So this was really great. My manager loved it because she's like, okay, now we have more than one thing to rely on to try and see where devices were shipped out to. So she was really happy about that. And so that is that for the main application. And so right now what I'm going to do is share from my phone. Okay, give me a second because I got the wrong app up. Bear with me.
I've been excited to see this on the phone because I haven't seen it. When we ran through this, I was actually blown away by looking at, when you're looking at that exceptions table, finding some of those anomalies that would come through when scanning a pallet, and just to realize that, oh, these serial numbers or this didn't, this wasn't on any of our invoices. Why are we getting some of this? But that quicker time to value, I think is pretty awesome there.
Yeah, and resolution wise, because we've had times where we had to go back and forth with vendors to where it's like, okay, we're missing these equipment. They're like, okay, prove it to us that you're missing this equipment, And so the plan is that the techs out in the field who are going to be imaging these new devices and assigning them, they will be able to click on the barcode reader and it will scan the serial number. Let me check the back of my thing here. I forgot this one doesn't have one, but it will allow me to scan the barcode into this field automatically, and I can just type some numbers in here and it'll start. As you can see, it already started. Sorry, it already started cycling through the serial numbers just by me typing in a couple of numbers here. So I can select this one right here. And then all I have to do is start typing in one of the user's name. I'm just going to type in myself. There I am. And then assign the device. So they don't, so that way it's quicker. So I didn't want to make the phone app super complicated for the techs because sometimes they're installing anywhere, they can be installing anywhere from 1 device to 10 devices, depending on if we're doing PCR or whatever. So I wanted them to just be able to scan it, find it, and then assign it to the person that they were setting it up for, and then go back to the home page, scan the next one, and keep going just like that. So it's not a complicated phone application. It's just really, you know, and this is pointing to the main inventory application. So, so once everything is, we get the full split, and we get this implemented, and we get everybody trained up on it, I think it's going to save a lot of time with assigning equipment and, finding equipment and all that good stuff. So,
Well, I was even thinking of like as you're showcasing not only the app that you had on the web app, but also what you're showing here on the phone as well. Like if an hourly wage of an employee, and this is generalized, okay, let's say it's $24 an hour, and that's who you have from your IT department in doing asset management and things like that. If you were to work for a full day across all of those people, you'd be looking at, oh, my goodness, if you think about it, over the course of a year, right? If you did inventory, once or twice a month, you could be looking at about 10 grand or something like that. And to be able to shave a majority of that off, instead of it being an 8-hour day, maybe a 3.5-hour day, just being able to use this technology, there's a huge cost savings there just in general. So this is awesome, man.
and not just as we all know, we've got reduced workforce, so everybody's wearing multiple hats.
Oh,
My,
yeah.
myself, I'm the primary person that gathers up all the computers and gets them ordered for the agency. So not only do I have to, okay, how many are we ordering? And I'm working with the inventory group and upper management. Okay, how many PCs do we want to order now? How many this? You know, then I got to say, okay, we're going to go with Dell, Lenovo, Microsoft, HP. Who are we going to go with this time? So I'm doing that. Plus, I'm doing desktop support where I've got tickets coming in. I got to go to computers and work on tickets and remote in. Plus, I'm the agency SharePoint administrator and Microsoft Teams person. So I have to help with people when they have issues with SharePoint while helping people develop other Power Apps applications. And more people are starting to get into the Dataverse portion. So I'm gonna have to do that along with being one of the senior technicians. So I have upper management when something gets all the way up to the CIO. It's like, DeAndre, can you go and handle this? So that's 4 different locations I'm being pulled in all the time. Not to mention we now have individual clients reaching out to me through Microsoft Teams, say, hey, my computer's broken. Nobody's come and see me. Can you help me real quick? So a lot of different hats going on all over the place. So by being able to cut down the time I have to spend scanning the inventory and making sure numbers match up, we got all these serial numbers, we can let the vendor know we've got this, and now I can go say, go pay this. I get back a lot of extra time because I'm not spending half a day or all day at the warehouse scanning equipment. And that also goes for um, my manager who helps out. He just got recently promoted. Um, so, and although he's one of the primary people that goes to the warehouse, that cuts down on his time because, as you see, he's wearing multiple hats. He's not only my manager, but he also still does a little desktop support, and he's handling the inventory. So that cuts down on his time. So it's a real time saving is the times that we've tested it, because him and I were at the warehouse and we scanned in 175 devices. We only had to scan them in one time. Didn't have to go back and check anything. We were able to verify the total number of devices that we ordered. We're like, we're done. Put the stuff back up on the rack in the warehouse and we were out. I say it took us, but we did have to move some computer equipment. But I say we got done 2.5 hours, which would have taken us probably double that because we would have been looking at an Excel spreadsheet, and then taking out a calculator. Okay, this many, this many, this many. Making sure we got the right number, or writing down on a piece of paper, like I said earlier, because we've done that before. How many on this pallet? This many. How many on this pallet? This many. And still having to go back and calculate with a calculator, because I'm not good at math, so I always use a calculator. So by cutting down all that time, that those little bit of time that you don't think a lot about, it's like, oh, we're done already. Right, let's go. You know, so that has really been beneficial since we wear so many hats. So
I would say most people on this call probably could identify with wearing multiple hats and your attention being split and your time actually being limited. And this is one of those necessary things that needs to be done right, because
yeah,
we want to make sure we're getting the right assets and also being accountable. And if our vendors owe us assets, then we need to be, on top of that as well to make sure that we're satisfying all the people that we're responsible for from an IT perspective, right?
yeah.
Um, I'm really curious now of like how you showcased the app, you showcased what what was on the phone. How did you build some of this?
So this was all built in Dataverse. So we have so the tables I was telling you about. So we have the Dell delivery table, HP, Lenovo, and Microsoft.
DeAndre, if you're sharing, we can't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, that's all
I,
right.
I,
You might have
I
switched when
clicked
you
that.
went out away from your phone and we started, talking here in a little bit. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So this is a Dataverse solution. So I have these multiple tables. These are the delivery tables. Since we're using the um, people column to add people to the assignment of the devices, we use Microsoft Entra ID instead of Microsoft Azure, because we saw that was coming down the road, so I wouldn't have to change anything. Um, and then we have a user table that kind of, when you get in Dataverse, multiple tables work in conjunction with each other. So that's how that came about. And then we have the primary inventory table, and then we have the exceptions table. So so that way, and the reason why that's important is because I'm using AI Builder to read the information off of the different invoices from the different vendors. So how it starts out is, so this is a packing slip document library on SharePoint. So we drop in, I call it packing slip, but it could be invoice, it could be the packing slip. Originally, when I did it, I used the packing slip straight off of the um, pallets. And although it got it great, sometimes, those packing slips have little annoyances over the serial numbers and stuff like that. So although it was reading it, because some of them were so badly degraded, it wasn't pulling them off. So I still have that as one of my AI options, but it's like a secondary thing. Like if we don't have anything, I could always fire it back up into the Power Automate flow and use it for whichever vendor um, that we don't have an invoice for, and we need to get the information quickly. So it's still there. I'm just not using it just as a backup. And one of the things that I did with Kennedy, I was like, okay, we got all this different stuff coming in here. Excuse me. I need to be able to tell it which AI builder to use. So we created this column here where I can select the vendor, and the Power Automate waits until I select a vendor. And then once I do, then it kicks off and runs through the rest of it. So, I don't have to worry about any fat fingering or anything like that. Pulls it straight off of here. It's really cool when it runs. It's like, oh, this is great. When you see everything filling into the table and all that good stuff, it's pretty cool. So that is how that's how it all starts with that. And so over here, if you guys haven't done anything with the AI builder, it's pretty straightforward. All of mine are custom, especially the Lenovo, and I'll show you that one.
I'm gonna say, because all of those invoices must look different, and you do need to
Oh
train
yeah,
the model. Yeah.
yeah, you do. So I'm gonna do a quick test upload from device, and yep, I'm in the Lenovo. Select that one. So now it does have pre-built AI builder things that will scan your document for you. And that might work for like 95% of the documents you have. It covers everything. But I know with the Lenovo, it read all kinds of information, but the one thing it wouldn't even touch was this block of serial numbers. And it was like, you're gonna read everything else. I don't need most of that stuff that you're reading, but you won't even it wouldn't even highlight the block like you see there. So I had to go in and customize everything. So I've got the invoice number up here, and then I have the PO number here. This right here is a table containing, and I can click on that, contain the SKU and the description. And then I have the serial numbers. And the way Lenovo does it, it's a block separated by a comma. And it was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, they're all different. Yeah, the SHI model. Quick test. So when you're doing the builder, you have to give it a minimum of 5 documents with different data on it, because that's going to improve. But with that, that's the bare minimum. If you do more, then that's fine. It makes it even better. But the bare minimum of 5 documents. So same with Lenovo, this particular model, it wouldn't scan the serial numbers going down the middle. As you can see, I think I chose the wrong one. Yeah. So, so I've got 2 different HP ones also, because we've switched vendors. I forgot which one of these it is. It might be that one. We'll see. No, that's Dell. That's Dell. So it's going to be not that one.
Well, as you're digging for that, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Sure.
First one is like, hey, do you verify all your data? Someone noticed that your confidence score wasn't very huge on one of those.
Yeah, the confidence score is really hard to get 100% with some documents. But yes, so the way there we go. The way that as I was building this, what I would do is I would scan in and I would go find the laptops and I would scan it. And I would see everything move out of the delivery table. So yes, even though the confidence score is low, yes, I have verified this by, right now I've got a bunch of data in there. But I have had smaller data sets. I was like, okay, let me scan this. And I watched it move stuff in and out from the deliveries table into the inventory table. So I do plan on trying to get that better. But like this right here is another one of those where the pre-built invoice would not touch this, but it would grab all this other data here. Right. So I've got the purchase order, and then I've got the information for the SKU and the description. And then I had to build these tables of serial numbers. That one's missing the last part. So, and see, this is because when you're building it, you can't always have, like, this is 4 pages. I think another one is 2 pages. So if you're only getting invoices with just 1 or 2 pages, but then you have a really huge order and you get in something that's 5 or 6 pages, that's where you start getting to that confidence level of, not being completely accurate or missing things. As you can see with this one, it's probably going to miss a couple of these, which I don't know why. So I got to go back and look at that. But from all intents and purposes, if it doesn't, as you saw in the hand scanner, I've got that exceptions table. So even if it doesn't see it or it didn't get imported, and it's still going to capture it. It might not move it into the inventory table, but it will have it in the exceptions table. So my exceptions table is my backup in case it doesn't show here. And then I can go by the purchase order number, find out, the invoice number, find out, which invoice it was. And that way I don't have to be going through multiple pages of documents trying to find out which invoice number page it's on, because sometimes you have multiple different invoice pages with different serial numbers on them. So by having that information already in there, I can say, okay, this invoice, nope. Oh, it's on this invoice page, and I can find the serial number and verify it. Yeah, we missed this one. Let me go back and look at stuff. So that was the way to, if I miss something, through the scanning, it's still there. We still didn't lose it. We don't have to go back and rescan it. We just got to verify it's on the invoice and we're good to go. So again, that cuts down on time right there.
Oh, absolutely it does. Plus, it keeps it organized on top of it. So even though the confidence level was a little bit low, it's still bringing in the necessary data for you to be able to do the job quicker. And do you feel then with some more training as you go more live with this, that you could get that confidence score, bolstered a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. And as you can see right here, it's telling you where the low score is. The low score is on the serial number. I've got 99 on the purchase order and the item information, which is the SKU, and the description 60, and then 31 on the serial number. And that's due to the fact of, as you saw when I dropped that 1 in there for the quick test, I'm missing a couple of things at the, a couple of serial numbers. So those are ways you can, look at it and get it more accurate. So that way, you raise up your score. So
absolutely. Another question that was in the chat is, can you show us connection references?
Sure. Connections. Wrong one.
If I may be so bold as to jump off and mute here, if you go back to the solution.
Yeah.
And click on the connection references. I'm just curious what's under the hood here.
Yeah, no problem. So Dataverse and again,
can you talk a little bit about the ServiceNow connector that you're using, how your experience with it's been?
Oh yeah, it has been really awesome. So it generates so when I click it, we're putting in the serial number, the description, and I believe the PO number. So that, and we can do it for as many as I put over into the ServiceNow. Like I can put as many as I want over here to generate the ticket. And just click ServiceNow. Right now it's going into the test environment for ServiceNow as we, finalize and do everything. But it generates that ticket in ServiceNow that then the inventory team can then assign to the tech or assign to the people who come to picking up the equipment. So that way we can say, oh no, you picked up this equipment on this date. It's in ServiceNow. We have it over here, yada, yada, yada. So it's kind of like a backup of us when we're sending out equipment.
And is that sending out incident tickets or request tickets?
Unfortunately, it's just incidents.
Okay.
From my research, I think at the time that I created this, you could only create incident tickets. I don't know if they've gone in and changed it where you can do requests, because right now I just want to get it working. I was just focused on getting it working. But hopefully they'll give us the option to do requests. But as of the time when this was created, it was just strictly incidents. But one of the things that we talked about was, if we do this, I know you can convert an incident to a request when you get into ServiceNow. That's one of those things that we'll be discussing about, do you want to just go ahead and, change it to a request, or do we just leave it as an incident? So that's an internal work thing that we're discussing.
Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, great question. Yeah. And if you have a question, by all means, feel free and use the raise hand option. Happy to call on you. We can definitely, go through some of this. We are at 14 minutes to the top of the hour. So what else did you want to show us, DeAndre?
Actually, DeAndre,
Um,
can you walk us through the bar scan or the barcode thing?
yeah. So,
Sorry, I forgot to
so
ask.
no, no problem. So with the hand scanner, which is the one that they take to the warehouse, um, that one is just simply the text input for Power Apps. So that one's pretty straightforward. The one for assigned inventory, that's actually using the barcode scanner, and that one's built for the camera on the phone. So you gotta be careful when you're thinking about barcodes and stuff like that. So because when we first did it, we tried to use the barcode thing, and then we had to do some research. It's like, oh, the barcode is at that time was really to activate the camera on a phone to be able to read a barcode. And then we just had to use text input because text input in Power Apps will accept barcode reading, and you don't have to do any extra coding um, on that. It's like you type something and you hit enter on your keyboard. So it was like, oh, okay. Because we were scratching our heads. It's like, why can't we use a barcode scanner, here? And then, like I said, after we did some research, it turned out, that's strictly for that. I think Microsoft might be working on making it a little bit more universal usage. Um, but yeah, this is just text input um, for this piece because we really want to be quick. We're scanning, going, down or across or down and then back up and down and back up due to however the devices are stacked on the pallet. So that works just like if you were in Excel and you do a hand scanner and you start scanning, it automatically jumps down to the next cell as you're scanning. And that's exactly what the text input does. And that's how we really wanted like that, the way that to work. And the barcode, um, the one for the assigned inventory, that's truly the barcode scanner, which activates your phone camera and allows you to scan the barcode. So that was fun, like trying to figure that out because it really does throw you off. It's like I want to scan a barcode. Yeah, okay, well you can't use this, you got to use that. So yeah, just grabbing that right there, um, and it does its thing, and this puts it into the text input, and that is filtered um, on the gallery so that it starts filtering out the information put into the gallery. And this right here, because it's text input, it doesn't care if it's typed in or if it's coming from the barcode scanner. So if I do an 8 and I do a V, so it gets me there, and then I can go and assign it. So it was pretty cool when we got this working and we figured out how the best way to um, use it in the different parts of the application. So I was pretty excited.
Cool. Again, thank you.
No problem. Any other? And the way I was building this, although I was building it for computers and PCs, I was kind of I was feeling like I was thinking ahead of the game. This doesn't have to be PCs. Any type of invoice, like I know our radio shop for the DAC side, they put out all the handheld radios for the prisons and for the probation officers. So when I was helping them out with getting their Microsoft Teams set up and things, and I showed them this, he was like, "Is it ready?" I'm like, "No, it's not ready yet." He's like, "Because I could use that to track all these radios a lot easier, especially when you buy new ones and you drop the invoice in, you know." So I was like, "Yeah, once I get it, once I get it finalized, we can export it, and then we got to tailor it to, tailor the tables and stuff, for you and all that good stuff, and you'll be ready to go." So it's very flexible as far as, what it is that you want to, what serial numbers and POs and stuff you want to capture off of there and put into the database,
Yeah.
So
And these other departments might use other types of, and I heard the word incident, but also request, pieces of software that they may use to import or at least ingest all of that inventory data. I was just thinking out loud with DeAndre as we were, rehearsing some of this, and it's like even as a former police officer, I think of our fire department, I think of solid waste management, or even the different departments that our government serves the public that has constant inventory coming in, and how you track that and how do you get it from the warehouse into the system that of record that you need, whether it's on the back end, ERP related things, or if it's on a ticket service like this where the user now can be assigned that particular asset, and that particular team can carry that forward. The use cases here become a little bit more unlimited, and based off of what you created here, DeAndre, it really is kind of like this could literally be your template, and you do that tailoring or that configuration then for the next department, because you already have the foundation already built.
Yep. And so one of the things that I do plan on doing, which I've got to get with our security team and get with the state controllers, we moved to a new accounting system that's built on the Oracle database. So one of my next two things to do with this solution is to kind of mimic what our on-prem thing that DAC built, is that when we go in there, we're able to search for the asset number, and it pulls back and let us know what department it's assigned to. So that information is in the new accounting system. I have to use this connection right here to be able to pull that information, so that when we do a search on the serial number, it'll pull that back information, let us know who it's assigned to, so we can make sure that it's assigned correctly. But I also, on top of that, want to be able to push information and save information about the computer. So let's say one of the techs, they get a computer, it was assigned to an employee, that employee went to another department or retired or got fired. So now we need to reassign it. I want to be able to then just reassign it to that person, and I haven't created yet, but kick off a workflow that says, okay, this has been reassigned. Is it still in the same department? Yes, but it's got a different person, and then upload that information back into the financial accounting system, say, hey, it's assigned to this person now, or it's been reassigned to this department.
Yeah,
so those are some future things that I want to be able to do. So that way, we have a lot more accuracy of like who is actually using and assigning a device type deal. So I'm looking forward to getting that piece working.
I wouldn't work at Microsoft if I didn't say like, hey, you could always add in a co-pilot there as well and start asking questions. What serial numbers are on my anomalies table? How did you determine model-driven app versus Canvas app? I mean, what was your approach to that?
The reason for that is due to, can this be done with, SharePoint and list libraries? Yes, it can, but the model-driven app gave a lot more simplicity and ease of development, to where I didn't have to think about a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You create your tables in there, and also, like, if me thinking about, giving this to another agency or another department to tailor and use differently than what I'm using, the solution, everything's in the solution. Once I put it out there, export it, and they import it in, okay, let's tweak it to what you want to do. So being able to reuse it, in different areas, that also was one of the things I was thinking about, because I was like, I know this can be used other ways than what I'm thinking. Like you said, our probation department, they have to track every weapon, every vest, every, all the equipment that they give them. And right now, I know they're still doing it with an Excel spreadsheet.
That's the reality, though. I mean, that's
Yeah.
literally the reality. And
it's not even one spreadsheet. It's multiple spreadsheets, because we have 100 counties. So we have multiple probation offices in each county. So each separate office has their own separate spreadsheet or some way of keeping up with who's assigned with what. And some of it is just paper, where it's like, okay, you've got this, sign off on it, and it's stuck in a file cabinet.
Yep.
That's how it is, So So,
Um,
thinking that way, I was like, I want this to be able to be modified to handle different types of things.
yeah. Well, that plus all the data is going to reside in the Dataverse,
Yep,
which
that's
then
right.
if you build other additional applications and things like that, you can still reference those tables. So it stops that data silo, the spreadsheets that are sitting on individuals' laptops or perhaps maybe in their work OneDrive for business or something like that, and it puts it in some place that makes it very usable by other applications. I know we talked a little bit about data connectors and things like that, but as you continue to expand on this, I'm excited to hear like where things go.
Yeah.
Um, and you alluded to this a little bit, and you've talked about some of the challenges that you have, but were there any other like last gotchas that like, oh gosh, okay, if I were to do this, and if I were to tell anybody on this call, what would be the one kind of gotcha of like, hey, be wary of this because this is for user groups as you build with this technology and continue to find additional use cases inside your departments and things like that. But what's that one thing that you could pass along to the folks on this call?
Um, when you say a gotcha moment, you mean like, oh, this
Well,
is
you
really
learned
gonna
about the
work?
barcode and
Yeah.
text and things like that. And you've already called those out, but what was one of those unexpected like, oh, that was that.
Um, because I've been dealing with Power Apps and list libraries, one of those things that changes uh F the FX formula is when you have to use different um and I'm not using the right terminology, but different variables when you're working with a table versus working with a list library.
Mhm.
Because like what you write in a list library to pull information or update information, it's going to be different when you start moving into tables and Dataverse. It's like it's still the initial part is still the same formula start, you know, but then it's like, no, this isn't going to work because the destination is a table. I'm like, well, a list library is technically a table, but it's not, So that was one of those gotcha things. There was like, because when Kennedy was helping me, she's like, okay, let me do this up in Excel. She would have this formula that she created that would work, that she did in Excel, and then we try and apply it. I'm like, this isn't working, and that was a couple of times where that happened. It was like, no, this is a table, so we have to not do it this way. We got to change it like this and blah blah blah. So that was like the big gotcha moment, understanding that trying to manipulate and move and read data here might require brackets, might require an extra period after the value to say this and some other things. So that was a real gotcha moment. It's like, okay, look for stuff to do with tables, not with this library.
I
Because
asked that not to throw you off, but I also appreciate you being a little bit vulnerable because, when we're talking about a user group such as this, it's important to talk about not only the successes and the use cases that we see, but also some of those challenges that we had to work through, because if
yeah,
that can make it quicker for the next person, that's awesome. DeAndre, we are at time. Thank you so, so much for not only showcasing this, but I'm excited to hear any updates that you would have on other things that you are potentially building as well. So, for all of us from the Dynamics user group or DUG4GOV, thanks for being here today. And this recording will be posted on YouTube at some point, so be looking for that as well. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much. And if you want to be a speaker, feel free and get a hold of myself or anyone else. And we will definitely add you to an overall list. We all learn from one another, and that's how we grow. So, with that, have a great holiday December.
thank you.
Bye. Thank you
Everybody
guys.
be
Happy
safe.
holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays. Take
holidays.
care.
Take care.
Great job. Happy holidays, man.